guitar players, welcome to my every Thursday morning at 9:45 a.m. CDT Facebook Live mini guitar lesson. Every Thursday morning, 9:45 a.m. CDT, we do a little nugget of guitar fun. It's just a few minutes. It's not going to require a giant time commitment, just a little helpful, fun thing to up your game on the guitar. So today, we're going to focus on a very common strumming mistake. We'll get to that in a second, but I hope at some point you will check in the description of today's event and you will see where you can sign up for my free monthly newsletter. That's a great way to just keep in touch with what I'm doing, classes I'm offering, interviews I'm doing with really interesting creative people, songwriters, artists, music business professionals. So you're going to want to get my monthly newsletter, so you can sign up for that. There's a link right there in the description. Also, my next Zoom class is Wednesday evening, August 26th, and we're going to learn a bunch of songs by Grammy hitmakers. So I'm thinking about Adele, Ed Sheeran, Taylor Swift, Casey Musgraves. I haven't made up my mind yet. In fact, if you've got some requests, I wish you would talk to me in the chat. Leave a comment. Tell me what you're interested in doing in the Grammy Hitmakers class on August 26th. There's a link you can sign up for it on Eventbrite. We'd love to have you. So also you can scroll down on this page and see all the past Facebook Live little mini guitar lessons that I've done on a wide variety of topics. So back to strumming mistakes. My sister, Wendy Young, has referred to this category as strummer bummers. So I told her that I'd be stealing that. So anyway, last week we did, I forget even which mistake we did. I think it was the one about keeping your arm moving. Today we're going to focus on the importance of bass notes. So, the bass note, maybe you already know, or maybe you kind of know, but you forget to think about it and focus on it. But the bass note is the single most important note in any chord you're going to play. So we're going to take a look at exactly what that means, how to translate that into a good sound. So, but it starts by actually caring about the bass note, about knowing that it's super important and also knowing where it is. Most of the time, there are some exceptions, but the majority of the time, the bass note is the root of the chord. So, for example, here on my G chord, the bass note is, yes, a G note, and it's right there on the 6th string, okay? So, if I am not thinking about that bass note and how important it is, when I'm strumming, I might not really bring that note out. And then my chord doesn't have a firm foundation, and it's actually a little confusing for my ear to know for sure what chord it is without hearing that G note on the bottom of it. So the first thing we want to know is, where is that dadgum bass note, and should I care about it? And yes, the answer is yes, you should care about it. Now, as far as what you do with it with your right hand, it kind of depends on your strum pattern. Some strum patterns, we actually don't solo that bass note out all by itself. It's just part of our strum. But we at least want to make sure that it's a solid sound in our strum, that we are in fact strumming the bass note and making sure that we know where it is, and we're making it a big part of what we're aiming for, all right? So a strum example like that would be something like what I just did, a 16th note groove. Now, you could hear the bass note clear as a bell on the bottom of each one of those chords. Bottom of my G chord, it's a G note. Bottom of my C chord, it's a C note. Bottom of my D chord, it's a D note, all right? Now let's shift our attention to the majority of strum patterns where we actually do bring that bass note out. Probably it's the first note that I'm going to hear in the strum pattern. So a very simple, easy example of that would be this strum pattern. Bass, strum, bass, strum, bass, strum, bass, strum. that bass note, defining what the chord is, even before I strum the rest of the chord. That's how powerful it is, okay? Now you might go, well, Ellen, I know where my bass note is and I try and hit it, but sometimes I accidentally hit a different note. It's like, yeah, welcome to my world, okay? This is every guitar player. Nobody said you have to be 100% accurate. Let's aspire to that. Wouldn't that be a beautiful thing? Every chord would have the right bass note on the bottom of it. But of course, you're not always going to hit it 100% of the time. Try not to be miserable about that. Just do the best you can, and at the very least, know where your bass note is and aim for it. So at least you're well intended. And if you accidentally hit a different string, oh well, keep going. All right? So that's just part of strumming. But at least be aiming for it. So now I'm going to do a groove. It's an incredibly common groove where we actually play the bass note twice. So it goes like this: bass, bass, strum, bass, bass, strum. If I weren't serious, like really serious about my bass note and knowing where it was and really trying to be as accurate as I could, that groove wouldn't make a lot of sense. So the whole thing rests on this boom boom right right at the beginning of the pattern. Okay? So and don't even get me started if you're going to do a walk up or a walk down, how important the bass is. I mean, there isn't a walk up or a walk down if you're not really focused, even, shall we say, obsessed with the bass note. So anyway, that should give you a little bit of food for thought about your bass note, and at least knowing where it is and aiming for it and trying to be as accurate as you can. And by the way, don't give me a little namby-pamby bass note. Bam, bam is what we're looking for, okay? So really dig into it and play it like it's the most important note, because it is. All right. I hope I see you again next Thursday morning, 9:45 CDT. Please sign up for my free monthly newsletter. Think about this Zoom class on Wednesday, August 26th, and we would love to see you there. Let's stay in touch, and meanwhile, stay in the groove.